Hi. So I was I've always had this thought, well, for a long time now, that visual representation isn't good enough anymore. It's just visual representation is just tokenism. For example, in comics, web comics and such, if there's say five main characters and three of them are white, that's not being diverse. And a cast of 10 or so, and a majority of them look white, and the others aren't, that's not diverse. That's just tokenism, really. And what really, what's really been getting to me lately is how these people think they're being diverse, but it's like a watered down. It's like they're too scared to go all the way with it. For example, it's like with couples, and I've been paying attention a lot to uh, the couple and love stories, or even anthologies and such, like short comics. And it's like different folks loving each other. I love how that's common now, and but it's as if they skipped over, or if they it's like they skipped over and it's saying that black people don't like other black people. Because, I mean, have you ever seen that? Like a main cast in the comic or such? Or it's either, it's so rare, it feels like it doesn't happen. That's how rare it is to see two characters, to see a romantic relationship and have one of them be black, but the others not be black, or they're always, or 90% of the time, they're white. And it's as if they're in, that goes with not only romantic relationship but friendships. That's if um, it's like more than one or two, and especially in relationships of any kind with each other, is too many black people for them. It's like they can't handle more than that. And I'm just really bored, and I can't help but feel that way when I see these stories, because I rarely see black love represented, really, to such an extent. And even friendships, it's like they think black people don't have black friends, and it's great to show the mix, but please, but it would be great to see more diversity in that. And also, with the black people that are presented, most of the time it feels like it's not diverse in the type of people. And for example, uh, I rarely see a black person say nigga in any of these stories. And it's like black people do say nigga and black people don't say nigga. But just there's such, there's so, it's so abundant of just this one type that it's like it's unrealistic, and it feels like they're half-assing it because they're too scared to go to really represent Black America, and nigga is part of that to me. And I understand a lot of these non-black creators, like they're too scared and they don't want any backlash, but I much rather people take a risk, and my own risk are in having characters of ethnicities that I'm not a part of, and it's just you research, and yeah, you may get some wrong, and people will call you out on it, and the key is to listen to them, but at least take the risk, at least learn, and it's like people. What I don't like is how people seem to think. they're diverse if they just have one or two black people, or where the majority of the cast looks white. So, for example, uh, if your character is interchangeable with any other if your black character is interchangeable with any other ethnicity, that's not representation, and that's part of the whole nigga thing. Like, I'm a, I don't really say nigga verbally. It just doesn't come naturally to me, and but mentally I say it. But yeah, it's but to see all these black characters in comics not say it, it feels unrealistic, and it feels like they're not really trying. Really, they're just like doing a half-assed way about it. And so like for example, Gus is a good example of a black character. Well, let me go back. It's just so they always have this one type of character, and not only do they not say nigga, it's just how they're interchangeable. I mean, in that they don't carry themselves as if they are black, you know? So, for example, in any story, if you have a story that has homophobic issues or sexism issues, then it would be realistic for them to have some kind of racial issues in their society too, or used to. And so that history would carry on and within those who are black, and it would affect how they. I mean, whoever you are, no matter what ethnicity, your culture shapes how you think, see the world, how you interact with it. And most of the black characters don't reflect that. And I can understand if like the story doesn't show those social issues, and then I'm like, okay, that's fine. But if your story does show like the homophobia and such, but they don't have that, and your black characters is basically a white person in a black suit, then it feels like something's wrong there. Like it's a lazy writing. Like you too scared to touch a certain subject, you know? Because when you're black in the world, you know you're black. I mean, you you walk through the world with different experiences, and it's like people forget that when you're making a character, they forget how culture and how one's ethnicity do shape. Like if you were born a different ethnicity, you see the world and react differently. So, but the black characters I see for the most part, they don't reflect that. They just act like, for example, one of the ones who act who don't carry themselves like if they're black, and it's just a white person, like they're interchangeable with a white character, is that love interest in Flash. And I've been watching that show for, well, I've only watched the first season. I'm missing the last two episodes, but I could tell. I was like, oh my god. I was like, she might as well be white, because it's like they only put, when you do that, when you don't reflect like the black, what it, a character who is black, but they don't reflect uh, being black. And that's not mean to say you have to be hood. Take Gus for example. He's a perfect example of a character who's black and is not interchangeable with any other ethnicity. Like he's not hood or anything, but he carries himself. He perceives the world and interacts as a black, as with a person with black experience, and that's the word I was trying to go for, black experience. And while the that love interest in the Flash doesn't, I'm like, Okay, it's clear she was just written by white people, or and they just cast her because they wanted to seem diverse, and it's just so visual. It's not good enough anymore. I want to see a reflection of black experience and even of other characters of ethnicity. Like I want to uh, them, not this, see them like reflect their like all aspects of their identity, and they just seem like white people in these non-white people suits. 'Cause, and and that's why so uh, if you know without looking it up, can you name a web comic or any comic where the main characters or where at least there's more than one character who's black, and if there's a love interest, that love interest is black too, and can you name and at least one of them say nigga every so often? Because black people do say nigga. And can you name any where uh, they have at least more than one black friend that isn't their family? Where it's like they're not isolated, or all they have is white friends. That's what it seems like when people do that type of tokenism. So if you know any webcomic that has more than two black characters, a love interest that is black too, or just not white, and at least one of them say nigga in their vernacular naturally, please comment below and share because I would love to check it out because I don't ever see that. And the only place I'm going to get that is from my comic, Epitome. And that's what this character is supposed to be. See, I'm still having trouble talking and doing this at the same time. And really, this isn't probably going to be the end. This is actually Park, and his body isn't that cut. But see, I like get distracted from talking. And Park is um, the backup best friend of the main character, Hala. And uh, so they're close, but I wouldn't call them best friends. Hala's best friend is actually someone else. But yeah, this is a long overdue, actually. Piece commission from a client. And this just shows how much of a trouble I have with trying to organize my schedule. I still put clients first, and like this was given in December, but because it's a character from my comic and they used the code, so the promo code to not pay anything, I took my time to get to it. Um, but you'll see more of Park soon in the comic. It's funny. So yeah, I'm talking of. Yeah, I purposely wanted to get this done, and it's just so. Uh, yeah. So with the whole visual representation, isn't good enough. It's like people should take more stock into how culture shapes one's identity, and be more. Don't be lazy about it. You know, and like have more depth and don't make the character. So if your character is interchangeable with any other ethnicity, then your character is just a lazy attempt at being diverse. You're not really diverse. And also if you know any love or porn, even porn comic uh, that has black that shows black love or just a romantic relationship where one of the lovers aren't white, because they're always white. It's like, have you ever noticed that? That even if they're in a mixed, even if they're different backgrounds within that relationship, one of them is always white. And but have you ever seen one where it's another black person or another person with at least melanin that's not white? So if you have, comment below. And if you've noticed any of the issues that I mentioned, feel free to share. Or if you know any that goes against that, please share. I'd love to check it out. But thank you so much for. Sorry I didn't get much of him done because it's hard to talk and do this at the same time. So please feel free to share your own thoughts. And please, if you're a creator, please be more conscious of how one's culture shapes who they are. And if your character is interchangeable, you're doing a half-ass is interchangeable with any other ethnicity, you're doing a half-ass job. So please think about how their culture and um, experiences shaped who they are. And that's mainly for those whose stories mention the other social injustices, who mention the other social injustices like homophobia or sexism and etc. So if your story or if the story mentions those or those are a part of it, then it makes sense to have the racial issues there as well. And that's not saying have the racial issues be a part of the story. That just means if they have those issues, then they have the racial issues. And so your character will have the experience that is different from the other characters of other ethnicities. And so you could take that into account without um, having a specific storyline that deals with this racial stuff. Like, for example, like Gus was Psych. So how you knew how he was very clearly he represented blackness both visually and mentally. And if you don't know what how black people react with the world, fucking pay attention. Like it's don't just use hip hop as an example. That's just lazy. It's like if you use African American, Black American vernacular, but you don't have any black characters, that's a problem too. Like I've seen artists do that, and they have barely any black characters, yet they want to use like Black American vernacular, like fuckboy and stuff. And I'm like, how can you not see the problem with that? It just feels you want the culture and you want the yeah, you want the culture, but you don't want the people. You don't want to represent the people. So, and yeah. So share whatever you want, down below, and please be sure to uh, look at culture more when you make your black characters. And if you need help with that, fucking just watch Boys in the Hood. That's a oldie but a very relevant movie. Or watch any other black made shows um, and get some sense of it. Like Blackish is good too. That's the latest one. Yeah, so it's really not that hard. You're just being lazy if you have the visual but not the mental. But looking for and if you do have your own character and you want to share them, feel free to drop below. I mean, not in a way that, oh, approve of this. Fuck that. I ain't gonna do that. I ain't your teacher. I'm just pointing out what I've observed. So, but I like looking at other people's work anyway. So feel free to share if you want. But have a nice day, and I will finish this at some point in another video.